in Marin County, but also in a Latino household, how that has played an impact in our growth. But before we get into the conversation, I do have an icebreaker question, and it's during the during the rainy season, what do you do? Like when it's raining?
I sleep.
Okay.
I don't know why, but I feel like hibernating when it's raining. I like the rain, but I don't like getting wet in the rain. Because then especially like if I need to go somewhere and like I don't want to like be showing up like all soaked in water. And that's like the only reason why I don't like the rain. Otherwise, I do like the rain just because it like your sleep just hits like 10 times harder.
Okay.
How about you?
Me, I because I work from home like 90% of the time, I think it's my favorite time because it's like it's raining, it's like, oh, I can stay home and cuddle with a blanket and have a cup of coffee or a cup of tea. So it makes me like working from home because of that, because I like the scenery. It's so beautiful. Compared to summer is sometimes I want to be outside. But yeah, I just wanted to get kind of like an insight on what you all do too during the rainy days. I like to watch movies, and I feel like movies during the rainy time it hits different.
I kind of like cleaning also.
Oh yes, like, that's a great time to do that.
You can't go really outside, so it's like cleaning just makes you feel better. And it's like in my house it's like really cold, so then when I start moving around I get warmer and it's not as cold.
I agree. I think I do a lot of cleaning during winter times. And yeah, sometimes I organize different things. I can put a movie in the background, and like, or music, and I can just get a lot of cleaning done in my closet, especially where I'm pretty organized. I like things very organized, but there are things that I don't use that I keep. And so by organization, I mean like taking those things out and like donating or throwing them away. So for me, it's like a perfect time to do that as well. Yeah. Well, anyway, we're going to continue. This will be our last show in honor of Women's History Month. And we had Samantha Ramirez on our previous show, and it was great. You guys all did such a great show. You guys had a conversation in different angles, which is great. And we just wanted to share our experiences. And we know a lot of people in the same boat, but with experiencing different things, which is kind of crazy to me, how we all live similar lives yet so different. And so we'll be talking about that, especially since Kim and I come from a household full of boys. Like, you have how many brothers?
Five
brothers, and I have 3 brothers. So
no, I have 6.
6. So we'll be talking about that and kind of how, because I personally feel the difference growing up in a household where like I've had more like guys than girls, and that has played a huge impact on me, or not. Who knows? We're gonna have that conversation. But yeah, I'll pass it on to you.
Yeah, I think growing up, especially in a household of all boys, is definitely way different. And especially like not having any sisters. I wish like I had a sister, because like every time I would like kind of do a girly thing, I guess you'd say, when I was younger, my brothers would like make fun of me for it.
Okay.
I don't know if that happened to you. Like they would make fun of me and be like, oh, like why are you acting so much like a girl? And like at a point I was like a tomboy. Like I was a straight tomboy, and I'd wear my brother's clothes all the time, and I'd like try to like act like them. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we'll have a great conversation, and we'll kind of talk about it too, because I think culturally our background, like it influenced a lot of like how it's so stereotypical of girls and boys, especially in Latino households.
Yeah, like how we're treated.
Yeah,
how our brothers treat us.
Yeah, and then like sports, for example, it's like, oh, that has changed over time slowly as families start to realize like, oh, it doesn't matter, your gender. You can achieve a lot of things regardless of your gender. Yeah, so I do want to talk a little bit more about maybe you can give a little bit of a background of you growing up, and then we'll kind of dive in.
Okay. Well, as I have 6 brothers, but I have 3 older brothers and 3 younger brothers, so I'm like right in the middle. And I mainly like grew up with like my 3 older brothers because my 3 younger brothers are all like really like younger, except for like one of them, he's 12. But I more grew up with like my older brothers, and the way that I was like treated with them, it's like we would like wrestle a lot, and like just like I was like kind of a brother. Like I was the other brother as well. And I just remember like from all of my whole elementary, I was very I don't know what's the right word. Not like hard-headed, but like I would think like a guy in a way. And like with my friends, I remember at school, I would be so rough. And like I would like want to like play fight like my girlfriends. And it like, and I went to like a really white elementary school too. So it was like really weird of me to do that. And I just remember like some of my friends like just being like, oh, why do you always like wrestling and stuff? And it's because like my brothers always liked wrestling with me, and like I always liked wrestling. And I feel like now also I kind of have that sense of like I'm kind of like strong-minded in a way. I don't know if that's the right word. Where like my brothers have said like not good things to me within like me being younger and like everything. And I feel like I can take anything that anyone like really tells me, if that makes sense.
It does make sense.
Yeah,
I get what you're saying.
How much they would bully me.
Okay.
And like another thing, when I was a kid, my mom would straight up just dress me because like my mom had 3 boys, so then my mom would like use their clothes also, just not to spend money, but like she would dress me up as a boy. Like I have photos of me and I look like I'm a boy. Like
Okay.
Then my mom would like, there was one point where my mom like shaved my head because like, you know, like sometimes they shave the girl's head if like the hairs are like growing out like really weird.
Really? I didn't know that.
You didn't know that? Oh,
No.
some parents do that. Like they shave your head because like when you're a baby, like they start like some parts grow out longer than the others. So when you, to like fix it, you just shave it all off. And my mom did that to me. And then she would dress me with boy clothes, and I literally looked like a boy. I looked like a baby boy. My mom has told me that a lot of people would come up to her and say like, oh, your little baby boy is so cute. And it's so funny. I would have to show you a photo. I actually look like
I'm kind of curious. I'm curious to know that.
Yeah. And I don't
To see that, not to know that.
Other things is like
I'm curious because again, I don't like to bring it up anymore because I feel like in every culture there's always something that's gonna affect you. But in Latin culture, like is there anything culturally that influenced you as a young girl in like at home?
in a good way or bad way?
I mean, either. I think both, right? I think there are definitely some, at least from my experience, there are a lot of cultural things that really helped me shape who I am now, and there are things that played a different impact and challenged me a lot more.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I just got one. I think kind of like there in most Hispanic households, there is the like way of being like the girl does everything, like the daughter like cleans and like helps cook and everything, and the guys don't. And I feel like that helped me in a way, even though like I hated being the only one cleaning and like all that, and like my brothers would like treat me like their slave at some points, and like not like slave like that, but like they would be like, oh, do this and that. But I think that just helps shape me now in a way of like I know how to like clean up after myself, because I do know some people that they don't know how to clean, and it's like really surprising. Like I've met some people that literally do not know how to clean, don't know how to like properly wash dishes, or like don't know how to cook or like make something out of something. And I think that's something that really like helped me now, especially since like I live alone. It's really helped me be able to like know how to clean, like make my own food, because like if my mom like would have never like made me like clean the house a lot and like do all those things, like I wouldn't know how to do it now.
That's a great example. What about me? Yeah. So I have a very interesting, like growing up in my household because, well, similar to you, I'm the oldest and I have two younger brothers. I won't get in depth with my older brother, but I do have an older brother who's really my uncle. But I won't explain it. And so he lived with us for, like, I grew up with my older brother when I was in Guate. I grew up with him and we got separated. And then I was here and he came here later on and we lived together for a while. And then he moved out and lived with my grandparents. But with my two younger brothers, so I'm the oldest. And I found it very interesting that in certain circumstances, my mom encouraged me more to be like the cooking, the cleaning, and being organized, etc. But one thing that she has done is also do that with my younger siblings. So the one who's right after me, he's 20, and he also grew up like me. So he was taught the same thing, to cook and clean. And even today, like, I live with my family, but he's a guy and he still has to do the things that I have to do. But my mom will enforce it a little bit more towards me because culturally in our households back home and in tradition, like, women are supposed to do the main things, the cooking, the cleaning, all of that. But when we came here, it was a culture shock for us because women here were working. Like, they were not just staying home and cooking and cleaning. Like, they were working. And even if they were stay-at-home moms in our Latino households here, some of them had babysitting. Like, they would take care of other people's kids. So that was for us a big culture shock. And even if you wanted not to work and be a full-time mom, I feel like in Marin County you can't do that. And I feel like that's facts because rent is so expensive, food is so expensive. So, like, both parents have to go out and make a living, for their family. So we grew up like that. And my mom was not only a stay-at-home mom. She was like cooking and cleaning, and she was a full-time mom and a full-time worker. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And as she grew up here and seeing different things, she implemented that on us. And she would say, like, no disrespect, but she would say, she used to be a house cleaner herself, house cleaner herself. And she would say, like, I meet people who are so organized and clean. And then she's like, then there are other people who hire us to clean and to this, not because they don't have time, but because they don't know how to do it. And so her thing was, I don't want my kids to be one of those people. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So she took that and kind of educated us along the way. And again, as a woman, I saw a different shift because my mom wasn't just being a stay-at-home mom. She was a stay-at-home mom and a full-time, like, doing something for her. And that really pushed me to open up my mind. And that's kind of what you see since we're talking about, like, our experience, how if I go back home to this day, I can still see a lot of the stay-at-home mom. They play a huge important role, absolutely. But coming here, it's their full-time mom and workers, right? It's a whole 360. So for me, growing up as a young woman in Marin County, did a whole 360 in a way. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wish my brothers were like that because it's like my brothers know how to clean to a certain point, and that's it.
And that's where everything nowadays, it's so I feel like I don't know. I don't want to say anything that will come out the wrong way. But it's more of like, that's a girl thing, that's a boy thing. That's a girl thing, that's a boy thing.
There's a lot of, like, machismo.
In a way. But I feel that there are certain things that shouldn't be that way. Like cooking and cleaning. an example is my brother has had to travel this last year and beginning of this year for projects that he's working on, and he had to leave home. Like he had to be on his own, and it was so heartwarming for me because he called and had expressed his feelings that he said, you know, thank you to our parents that they didn't just push you to do the cleaning and organizing and cooking, because I'm far away from home. I'm on my own. I have no family here. I have no friends here where I am, but I'm able to survive. Like those things were taught to us to survive. So there are cultural things that are placed sometimes in households where it's just a girl doing those stuff. But I really believe that it should be both, because from my experience growing up, I see the difference of like, oh, my brother knows how to do that too, and it feels really good, you know. Yeah. Continue on.
No, I just wish that my brothers are like that, because I also feel like nowadays, like as a woman, like wouldn't you want like a husband that knows how to cook? Because it's like another thing, it's like I wouldn't want to be stuck cooking all the time and like being the one that's doing all that, because like I want to go into a hard career as well, and it's like I want to have that feeling of like being able to relax and like my partner doing those things for me because he was taught that way how to do it.
Yeah, I think that's also really important thing that we can take as well, and kind of how we wanna, if you choose to have like family or stuff, how you can change that tradition, you know. And that's exactly what my parents did. I think coming here to the US, it really opened their eyes about the roles. As I mentioned, it was definitely really hard, and even today, like some of our family maybe don't agree with what we do. You know how. And that's the other thing too. My mom likes to work and likes to. She can't be at home all the time. Like she literally says that I can't be home all the time. But at the same time, she says I love how she put that into me growing up, and it pushed me to change my thoughts. And it was, your father and I are a team. You know, we are both protectors. We're both providers, especially here in Marin County, as I stated, because they had to. And growing up that way, it made me not just have that belief from back home that I have to just be cooking and cleaning and stuff, that it was that regardless of our gender, we can achieve what we want to. You know, and that was really pushed onto me, and that helped me a lot to say, okay, I want to be doing this and that, but also learning how to survive. You know what I mean?
I mean, those like basic skills.
Yeah, those are really basic things that you should know.
Yeah, but I've actually met people that don't know these basic things. Like I've met someone who doesn't know how to mop. That's like how much like I feel like our culture doesn't let guys like do those things just because like women are supposed to do it. And it's like, you can do it. And it's like, if you're just taught how to do it, it would be like much easier. But it's like, I don't want to be the one teaching you.
Yeah. And I love how you also brought up earlier how you would complain or you didn't like it, because I felt the same way. And I believe that there were times that I said, oh, why am I the only one who's told to do it? And why can't they do it, you know? Or why can't...
I would literally complain all the time. I'd be like, why can't Eber do it? Or like, why can't my other brothers do it? Like, why do I have to do it? I'm like, he's just on his bed. He's not doing anything.
Yeah.
And like, I'd be doing like homework sometimes. And like, my mom would be telling me like, oh, clean or something. And I'm like, I'm literally already doing something. And it's like, my brother's like not doing anything. Why can't he?
Yeah. I agree. Like there were certain things that I think we complain, but then as you grow older, they start to pop up, and you're like, that's why I had to learn that, even if I hated it, even if I didn't like it, and stuff. So, yeah. Do you have any questions?
Yes. Are there any specific challenges that you faced or pressures growing up? Because I also want to know more like how it was, because you mentioned like culture shock and everything, how that was for you in a way of transition.
Yeah, I think let's see. Because and this is where I find it very tricky, and I don't know if it's because society has just said it's like for girls or boys, like just two options. What I mean is, like, for example, sports are only for girls, or not society here, but back home.
Yeah.
Back home. If you had to choose a career, like a teacher is good for a girl, and that could be good for a guy too. But if you want it to be, I don't know, an architect, right? Yeah, something difficult or hard that was just a guy thing. So the reason why I bring that up is because growing up for me here, I grew up in a household where my parents told me you can be anything or do anything you want as long as you have a good work ethic and you are disciplined, right? And they would say, hey, you can be an author, a dancer, a scientist, a computer, anything you want. It doesn't matter. And so for me, that's just kind of how I had in my head. And there are a lot of things that I like that are not so quote unquote girly. Okay. So sometimes that, like, my parents would be like, really? But they're like, okay, go for it. But my outside family, they're like, oh, like the reaction isn't what you would think. You know what I mean? And so that's a little bit different. And also, for example, here, and I'll give an example, is that we work at MCM. Sometimes we have long, like, night projects that we're working on or events, and I have to leave home. Like, I go home late, right? And back home, and even like years ago, it's like, you're a girl, you can't be out so late, or why are you out so late, or stuff like that. But now it's like, oh, she's working, she's doing something. So it's different. But to my grandparents, especially to my grandmas, it's like, they're very concerned sometimes. Yeah. And for example, skydiving as well. I did that. And it's like, I wanted to jump off a plane. And they were like, what? How? You know? Or driving, for example, I know how to drive manual stick shift. But normally that's not something that women know. And so they're like very surprised by it, I guess. But again, I think the challenge that I would say is just really ignoring what other exterior family believes, because I grew up in a household where my dad would always tell me, like, you can be anything. You know, you can do anything. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
What about you?
For me, I feel like that wasn't really talked about in my family, I don't think. Like, not that I like really remember, because like the one thing is just more my mom. Well, I grew up with like a single mom. My dad wasn't around either. So like that's the difference. You grew up with both your parents. I grew up with just my mom. And I feel like my mom has never like implemented anything like much on us. And like she never like too much cared if we went to college in a way, but she would say like, oh, go to college and everything. But she wouldn't make it like something like she wouldn't put the pressure on us to have to like go to college. Like the one thing is just like graduating high school. And like my older brother, like he dropped out of college, and my mom never really like forced him to like go back, and she was like fine with his decision. And then my other brother, he finished at College of Marin, but that was all he had done. And she would tell him to go back to school so that he could get his bachelor's, but he like doesn't want to. And like even now he doesn't even use his degree that he got. So he feels like there's no point in going back. And like my mom has like respected that. And then like with my other brother, he's still at College of Marin, and like he's kind of taking it like really, really slow with like his studies. But like another thing, my mom never was like, my mom's has never been like, oh, like, why aren't you done? Like, why are you taking so long or anything? So like for us, it was never really like implemented like that. I feel like, and then my mom has never really like told me anything. Like I've just told her like, oh yeah, I want to be a nurse, and like that's like what I'm studying for. But my mom has never like really been there for like, not just me, but like for any of us in a way of like being like, oh, how's school going? Like what's going on in like your classes and stuff like that. Like my mom's just never really been like that with us. But I don't know. It's like, but in other aspects, like for me, I would say my mom, I feel like it's kind of like different. Like my mom, I feel like is bipolar in a way, but like in a way, when I was growing up, my mom would sometimes let me do things, but wouldn't let my brothers do things. Like an example is like, because you mentioned like you weren't able to be out so late, but like for me, it was sometimes like a little different in a way, because one of the first things was I was the only one out of, Walker Creek in like 5th grade. I was the only one that my mom let go to Walker Creek, and like all my other,
Really?
yeah, and my mom didn't let any of my older 3 brothers go. And then when she let me go, all my brothers are so mad at her, being like, why'd you let her go? And like I didn't really have to like convince her too much, but she was like fine with me going. And she was like she's okay. Like she kind of I feel like my mom in a way thinks of like, because I'm like, she knows that I'm able to take care of myself, like even from a young age. Like she's always told me that like she knows that I'm able to take care of myself, and I feel like maybe like she views it as like that's why she lets me go to these things. And then like I've been like overnight at like my friends' houses, and like my mom like never said anything like to me, but like with my brothers, like she would never let that happen. But and then like another thing, like when I was 16, my mom let me do a 2-week backpacking trip. And like that's something she would have never let any of my brothers do. And she like trusted me enough to go, and like she told me like I can take care of myself, and like and it's like I don't know, I feel like there's a little different aspect in that. And then also when I was in all of middle school, I wouldn't come home super late, but like my mom knew my friends that I was like hanging out with. And like I feel like kind of because I had like a lot of white friends, maybe, I don't know, I feel like, but I had a lot of white friends that I would hang out with in middle school, and I would come home like pretty late, but like most of the time like it would be with their family, and like they would sometimes come and like drop me off and like let them know that like they dropped me off. So I feel like that's kind of like different with me. Like my mom was kind of more okay with me doing certain things and not letting my brothers, but then there were some things that like she didn't let me do and let my brothers do. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I feel like it's kind of different in a way.
You brought up, and maybe this could be something we can talk about, and it's our relationship growing, kind of how our relationship with our parents really impacted our growth as young women as well. Because that for me had a lot to do with it, a lot played into it. And also like what did you culturally, like what things you kept and what things that you kind of changed because you didn't really like see it fit in your life. When we kind of talked about it, how how our, or I think I talked about it, how for my family we had to leave a lot of different things, or not leave it, I would say just accept new things that we were looking at and kind of adjust our living, not to just fit in, but more to like prosper. And an example that I gave was my parents both working, and not just one. But we're gonna take a short break, and then we'll come back and talk about it. We're gonna play a song, Soul Purpose by Ismael Lara, and we will be right back.
Yeah. Evolving wings. Yeah. I'm a genius, original purpose, resurrect like the phoenix. From the mother lotus emerges, no longer feel wordless. To be a service to purpose, it's evolving wings por vida. Got them all like Nita, eternal play in the brain, got me insane. It's been the pain, your seat's pain. My soul wounded, some wounds can't be computed. God's great shadows meet the darkest alley. Demons came for me, but archangels parried. Swift swings, shut the souls rapidly. Call it horror meets fantasy. Lower energies move like cavities. Sucker MCs, no substance. Ignore the earth's cry. lies. Sucker MCs, no substance, don't realize we never die. Misguided by subsidized lies, I'm guided by my ancestors' war cries. Born on floor, spitting truth and courage in your spine. Evolving wings is manifesting your divine. Don't give up, fly. Compassionate campaign, my sole purpose. Wings up, wings up, wings up, wings up. Compassionate campaign, my sole purpose. Wings up, wings up, wings up, wings up. Compassionate campaign, my sole purpose. Wings up, wings up, wings up. Compassionate campaign, my sole purpose. Wings up, wings up. Fui bendecido por los grandes que fincan cuatro paredes.
That was Ismael Lara, or my bad, Evolving Wings. I'm sorry, guys. I just know we know him as a really good friend, and so I'm not used to calling him by Evolving Wings. But you can check out his music on Spotify, Apple Music, and YouTube. Want to give a big shout out to him for providing us his songs to play for the show. With that, we do have some announcements. We have the open mic tonight at 709 Fifth Avenue in San Rafael from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. So if you're a singer, actor, dancer, a poet, please come down. We will be here. A part of the Tay team will be here, and there's going to be free pizza, so join us. And on another note, we do have the career fair coming up on May 1st from 3 to 6 p.m. This is an event where we'll be having employers be present and talk about their job openings that they have, and an opportunity for the community to come in and learn about any jobs that they are interested in that they can apply to. And yeah, this event is being sponsored by Mechanics Bank and Kaiser Permanente, and we want to give them a big shout out for sponsoring this event for our community. This is our work in the studio being taken out for all of you, so please join us and RSVP in the links that we'll be putting in the description, or you can just go to our Instagram at Tay Radio Marin and click on the bio. We have the links to RSVP, or if you're an employer who wants to table at the event. With that, we're going to jump back into our conversation talking about our experiences growing up in Marin County, being a Latina, and yeah, in honor of Women's History Month. Yep. Continue.
Do you want to start off from where we were?
Yeah, go ahead.
And
you forgot? I think one thing that really shaped my upbringing as a young woman is probably my relationship with my mom.
Mm-hmm. I think that's what we're going to...
Yeah.
Relationships with our parents.
My relationship with my mom has been... And I think it happens all the time with everyone, that it's not just a straight line. I've always had like ups and downs, especially with my mom, because I think also because there's a lot of cultural things that were updated or how would you say it? Like there are a lot of things that they opened when coming here, but there were a lot of things that kind of stay back still. And so then me growing up here, there's a lot of bumping heads, you know, does that make sense?
Yeah.
And like I said, myself and my brother were taught how to do the basic things, but I felt like there was a little bit more of a pressure on me to do it. And often, and my mom can testify, always say, why do you always tell me this? Like, why can't you tell my brother? Or, you know, there are things that she brings up, like the girly stuff maybe would be something that I don't dress very girly, according to her. She's very, like, I think pictures her daughter dressing up in dresses and you know, doing her hair and knowing a lot more about what you would quote unquote call girly, right? But I, on the other hand, I like wearing jeans, I like wearing hoodies, and I'm not a big dress person. I'm not a big skirt person either. I can wear heels, but I don't like wearing them all the time. And so my style is very different, and we bump heads with that because she wants me to wear pink and purple and I'm more of like, I like blue, black, you know, all of those more neutral tones and stuff like that, you know. And also, it's in the topic of growing up as a young woman in a Latina household. For me, as that comes from an indigenous community, there are a lot of things that were gated for my family growing up, like how to know your body. And for my mom, like she wasn't allowed to ask questions about her period, her body, basically. It was like, that's not for you to know. And even for her, like she brings it up and she's like, I didn't even know how a baby was born when I was pregnant with you. And when I gave birth to you, I didn't know how you were gonna be, how that process, yeah, she didn't know that. And so for me, growing up here, there is a lot of things I ask her, and we have learned together. Because, for example, our cycle, that's part of my womanhood, and you know that's something that I've had to ask her questions about. Something that she sometimes says, like, this is just how I learn. This is how it is. But she's very like, why don't you go do your research and I do my research? We come back together and kind of learn along the way. We've come together as teams, but we also have bumped heads and like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. You know, I don't need to wear dresses all the time, or like stuff similar to that, you know. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
what about you?
That's also me, actually, because since like I have literally all brothers, that like with my mom, if I wanted to dress girly, she didn't like that, and she would rather me dress like a tomboy.
Oh, really?
So yeah, it was the opposite with me.
Very protective mother.
Yeah, she. Oh, I was also never like I'm not like, even now, like I'm not a dress person, or like I like wearing skirts or anything like that. But like I remember there were times where like I would want to wear like a dress or something, and my mom would be like, no, you can't wear dresses. Like but like her way of saying it would just be because I'm too young to be wearing a dress, because I was like younger.
That's a different thing that we can also talk about. How after you go from that little kid to being a young adult, how things are shifted.
Yeah.
Because like, same thing, my mom didn't really care growing up, kind of stuff. Now that I'm older, she's very conservative. Like, and it's funny because she can say, oh, I want you to wear more dresses, more girly, blah, blah. Okay, I wear something.
And she's like, no.
And she's like, that's a little too revealing, or that's a little too, and something that I never really thought that I would have to think about growing up, because you're so innocent when you're a child that you don't really think about how people are going to perceive you. But then as you grow up and you start experiencing like those eyes that look at you, those comments that are told at you, you kind of start in a way realizing, oh, I didn't know this was gonna be something, you know. But I interrupted you. Go ahead.
No,
continue with your mom.
No, that was kind of it in a way. Like, I've never been like, I honestly, like, even now I just rather wear like a hoodie, like sweatpants as much as I can. But I've never really like just wanted to wear dresses or anything. My mom never really, she only cared if I like dressed too girly, because she didn't like that. And like one thing my mom would say to me and like my brothers, like, oh, also like when I started wearing makeup too, like now it's so weird. Like I like change. Like I used to like wear makeup in like middle school and high school, but like now like I hardly do. Like whatsoever, like I like do my eyebrows and like I put on mascara, but like most of the time now, like I don't really care. But my brothers and my mom would always call me coqueta.
That's the word.
Yeah, they'd be like, oh, ¿por qué quieres ser coqueta? Or like they would be like, eres muy coqueta. And then they would say like, kind of like, if I were to dress like girly, they also would, my brothers would say like, when I dress girly, I would think like different, like I would be different. Does that make sense? Like they would say that was me like younger though. Like they would say like, oh, you'd change and you'd be more mean. Because like
hey, sometimes it's a confidence boost.
Yeah,
it's a confidence boost, guys.
it would be that they'd be like, oh, you're too confident in it, and like they would kind of like make fun of me in a way if I were to like dress like other than like wearing like a hoodie and like a big shirt or something.
And do you have anything else to add?
No.
I was just gonna say, I feel like that is something that has slowly shifted, because I feel like the way you style yourself, express it, like it really, it's in a way, it's a form of expressing yourself, and I give a shout out to Marcy, because her style is like on a whole other level. But that's what I mean. That I think for there's always like girl, boy, but the way you dress yourself, it's a form of expression, and some people see it as art. So it's something that I think for me, I don't really believe in the girly type of stuff, and I just dress how I feel. That's really what it is. There are times where I'm like, I want to wear a dress, I wear a dress. There are times where I want to wear jeans or a hoodie, or you know, and it just really depends on how I'm feeling. And I think that's how we should be. Yeah. Whether you're a guy or a girl, just dress how you're feeling. And again, there are limits to it in certain circumstances. Because I also take the feedback and understanding of like scenarios with my mom. You know, sometimes I'm wearing something and she's like, I don't know if that's appropriate for the event you're going to. So, and I'm like, and I analyze it in my head. I'm like, okay, you're right, you know. So I think there's always there's you just gotta read the room. You gotta read the room.
I feel like, do you feel like you have a sense of style? I feel like I do.
I do not.
Yeah, me either.
I do not.
Like I feel like because I don't have a sense of style, I just wear hoodie and sweatpants when I can. And like now I've been wearing a lot more leggings. Like wearing leggings and like a hoodie or a shirt, because I feel like
more comfortable.
It looks like it's like chill, comfy. So yeah.
Yeah. What was I was gonna say something else, but that's pretty much it. What was in my head?
I wanted to mention like it went out of my head away. How it's like to be like what was it? It was in my head and it just left.
It's left. I was gonna say that because it reminded me of something, especially growing up in a household full of guys, that for me, my siblings are very protective, like very, very protective. They're and very jealous. I've noticed that about them. They're very like, in a way, I feel like they want me to be a guy, you know, because I think they're like worried about like the whole aspect of dating or something, that they're panicked of like, I don't like that. But I think it's just them being very protective, and so growing up for me has always been like that.
I don't think I've felt that with my brothers, kind of, but not really. In a way, like one of my older brothers, he's only 2 years older than me, so we're kind of the same age. So like more like recently, like when I was like 17, 16, like he didn't really care if like I had a boyfriend or anything, but like he would also still like care in a way, you know. He would like want to know who it is, and like just like kind of just like make sure like they're not like a bad person or something like that. But like he never really cared, because like I think he also understood in his head like we're similar ages, like he had already had a girlfriend and everything, and
okay,
yeah, like we're only 2 years apart, and it's like we also like kind of know the same amount of people as well, so it's like not like weird or anything. And it's like also like I was like okay, what I was
Javier's making me laugh at the scene. I'm sorry. Continue.
No, it's fine.
But I did come up with a question because he's looking.
Okay. I just don't think my brothers are too overprotective of me in a way, which I kind of like, because I just don't I don't like having that feeling of someone hovering over me. And like even now, like they're not like that. And like recently, my brother was like I was in the same place as my brother recently, and like he was dancing with a girl, and like I was dancing with like his like best friend, and like he didn't care about it, like he was fine with it because like he knows him and everything, and it was just like,
If my brother's listening or watching, take notes.
yeah, like
He does not like me being near his friends.
Oh.
Yeah, he does not
Well,
like it.
actually, his like best friend, like him and I were like friends before they became friends.
Oh, that doesn't matter with my brother.
Oh. Never mind.
He's very like, stay away from my friends.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. But with that being said, though, I wanted to talk a little bit more about, since you're in nursing school and your journey about that, were there any like things that surprised you or challenged you being like a girl? Did that make a difference at all?
Well, it like in the nursing field, like I don't know if you know or don't know, but it's all women.
Oh.
Literally in my entire like program that I'm in right now, there's one boy, literally one boy, and everyone knows him because he's the only guy in the program. And I think like in a way, I feel slowly there are more male being put into the medical field, but there's not as much right now. And I feel like just because it's so like pushed onto girls,
Women dominated.
yeah, women dominated.
That's what I was saying, and that's where we can talk about too, like the there's nothing wrong if you want to be a guy nurse. Like it's very
there are
open.
plenty of them,
yeah.
but there's not as many as like there are as women. And I feel like for me, in a way, I kind of like being a woman in a setting of like women because in my classes, like I became close to a lot of them, and then we help each other. And it's not like none of us like feel like, oh, we're competing with one another, or like at least like I don't think like we're not like competing with one another. We're all trying to get to like the same place.
Do you feel like you're competing when there's a guy or men involved? Does it feel more competitive to you?
I feel like
Curiosity.
No, it's not. I don't think it's competitive, but I feel like they kind of like they're intimidating in a way.
Why?
Because like I mean, most of my classes, like there's literally one guy in the whole program, but and like related from like my general education classes, it's more like I just like don't want to like talk to them in a way because it's just like weird because there's that like that societal thing where it's like guys and girls can't be friends. So then it's like kind of weird if you like kind of try to talk to a guy in your classroom, because then like people are gonna think like, oh, you're trying to like hit on them or something like that. But then like with all female, it's like you're not trying to do that. Like we're all just there to help each other. We're all there to study with one another and just like support one another. And there's not like that sense of like, oh, like should I talk to them or not?
Interesting. It does make sense. It's very interesting. That's how your experience is.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I think sometimes and it can happen to anyone, that they can undermine. Is it undermine you? No.
Underestimate.
I'm like underestimate you. I feel like I've never taken it personal, saying that it's because I'm a girl. I really haven't, and maybe because of what I look up to. There's certain women I look up to. My mom is one, and they've never taken an excuse for anything, and so there's people who have underestimated me, but I've never taken it, because I'm a girl. If it were a guy, I've never really thought that way, because I felt like that was dangerous to think that way for me, because it wasn't pushing me harder. And there's many example of women in my household who have broken different barriers. And one of them is, I have a cousin who I have two cousins. Two of them went to the military. One of them went to the U.S. Air Force, and he was a guy. Everyone was like, "Oh, great! Like, oh, shocking! Great, he went." Then there's this girl. She's younger than I am, and she went to the U.S. Army, and they were like, "Wow!" Like we were all amazed because she she said it when she was like in high school and middle school. Like, I want to go to the military. That's her dream. And so same thing with her. Like she proved, like, they're younger than I am, and they're proving me that regardless of anything, what everyone says, as long as you work hard and you put in the work, you're disciplined and set goals for yourself, it's doable. So for me, a lot of people ask me that, like, as a girl, are there any challenges? I've never taken it that way. I think as an immigrant, it's a different story. For me, at least my experience. But same here, like being in the podcast, talking to our audience, and being in the film industry, photography, being in the arts. It is never really in my head. I've never really put a gender to it, because I feel like everybody can do it. All you just got to be creative, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
With the military thing, one of my cousins, she also went to the U.S. Army, and she's the only one, I believe, out of like all my cousins I've ever gone, and she went when she was 18. Like, she went like straight out, or no, like a year after high school, and she went for, I believe, like 2 or 3 years, and she's no longer in the Army, but she did go. And I remember, like, it was kind of like a big thing within our family, like, oh my gosh, it's a girl going. Like, everyone was like really scared, because like there's just that like norm that like women aren't as strong as men, and they can't like fight in wars or anything. And so like I remember like just my mom and like a lot of my other aunts like just talking about it and saying like she shouldn't be going, and they're kind of trying to like talk her out of it in a way to not go, because it's like dangerous and everything. And yeah, but she went, and like she really liked it, but she came back, and like now she's like back in school.
Yeah, I think the message I want to for the show that I really want to implement is that regardless of who you are, that you can achieve your dreams and goals, and you will hear everything. You will hear no's, absolutely. It's not supposed to be easy. Like, maybe we have this type of mindset that, or just because of how we've seen it in films, or I don't know, that we assume that our goals and dreams are the pathway is like straight. You know what I mean? But in reality, it's, you will hear no's. You will hear people tell you can't do it because you're a girl, or because you're a guy. You can't do it because you're small. You can't do it because you're skinny, or you're too fat. Or you will always hear these things. That's part of the journey. But if you push through, you discipline yourself, and you can achieve it. And that's why a lot of people might say, I wasn't able to do this because of this. And in certain circumstances, it's true. But you just got to keep going. You got to keep going, you know? Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I feel like especially like within households, like as we mentioned earlier, like I would always complain about things, but it's like, just like look at the bigger picture in a way. And like see like what you can take out of those things, and like how you can help benefit it from your life. And it's like being a woman now, it's like you can do like so many great things, and like so many women now are doing like amazing things from when like we first started out, where like women couldn't even work. Like you had to be a stay-at-home wife. Just like being able to branch out, and especially like if you have those opportunities, don't like take them for granted, and take those opportunities. And as Santi mentioned, if someone says no, that's gonna happen. Don't let it like put you down or anything, and just keep going at it. And it's like, yeah. I thought you were gonna say something. No, I just randomly like thought about like I wonder how it's like being in a profession of like engineering. Cause like, sorry, it was like so off because we were talking about like how it's like being in nursing. I feel like it's so much different than someone who would be like in an engineering program, because that's like male dominated. And most programs are like there's like 1 or like 2 like females there.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like I really look up to women who are in those fields and pushing it hard, because they're not taking the no. Yeah. They're saying no. And you know, and okay, you know,
like, and the engineering's like a really hard major, and it's just like kind of just only targeted towards men, and it's like kind of put out in a way of like you have to be like really smart and like only men can do it and all these things, and it's like, no, women can do it too.
Yeah.
I know someone who's in aerospace engineering, and she's a badass. She's a year older than me.
Yeah, there's, like I said, there's no limit to who you want to be, and just knowing that especially living in the U.S. And we'll talk specifically in the U.S. where our culture is very different, and so there is that thing where if someone, but maybe you do want to be a girl who's like dream is to be a stay-at-home wife and mom, it's totally fine. And that's what I'm saying. I think knowing where we are and saying you can be anything, and there's your biggest critic is going to be you know, because I can't go back home and say that, because not a lot of my family will understand the fact that, you know, my biggest dreams are, they won't understand it, you know. But I do want to bring up that this is our experience growing up as young women, and I know that is changing, or the definitions of it are changing in society, and you know, but the overall message is that we all can do great things, and it's going to take a lot of work. And yeah, and I'm happy that for me, at least, looking in my timeline from my great grandma to my grandma to my mom to me, there has been this progress very slowly over time, which is great. But there are a lot of things that are not fixed yet, you know. And for example, there's a lot of domestic violence, women, you know, letting themselves be hurt, thinking they deserve it, and men too, because it's both ways. But there are a lot of things that haven't been working, but there are a lot of things that are slowly progressing, and I feel that it's my responsibility as a Latina woman that to take on things that have helped and leave things that have not, and honor it, you know.
To just break down those barriers.
Yeah, those barriers. For one of my biggest things that I have for myself, and it's different for everyone, it's that in my family, I have a lot of cousins who are very, very young. A lot of them are younger, and some are older than me, but they also have, during the same timeline, they got married and had kids very early. And they just kind of became a mom and a wife, which there's nothing wrong with it. But a lot of them were kind of like, they saw that there was nothing else. That was the big issue. Like, they weren't forced to be married. They weren't told like, you have to get married and settle down. It was more of a
culture thing,
whether it was culturally or they just didn't see past it. And then when I talk to them, they always tell me, don't get married, don't have kids yet, wait, do your own thing and stuff. And so, and then there's younger cousins that I have that are doing the same thing now, that are getting married, having kids and stuff. And my role that I have taken on, and the responsibility for me is, and it's having that in mind, saying, I want to be the difference, that I want to show that I'm not choosing to give up those things. I'm choosing to have a plan and experience my life, and then be a wife, and then be a mom, you know. But I want to prove that wrong, you know, for me and for them, for the younger generation, saying, I just want them to have someone where they're like, there's no one in my family who's done it. Yeah. When they can point out, oh, but she's done it. That's the responsibility that I have and that I want to take on. No one has put it on me, but it's something that I have put for myself. Yeah. But with that, I'm going to pass it on to you before we end the show.
Yeah, I think I would say the same. I would want to be that change within my family, and that change within like my cousins. The same for like my family. It was, I'm kind of trying to wrap this up, but for my family, it's kind of the same. Like, a lot of people had children really young, but because of cultural things, and because like a lot of them are like married together, they have like arranged marriages, like some of my aunts had arranged marriages and all that, and I just kind of want to be that change with like my younger cousins that are like female especially, and like letting them see that they don't like need to have a kid, they don't need to be forced to like be with someone, have a relationship or anything like that, and like to just like focus on themselves and like focus on their careers and what they want to do in life, and then like later on settle down.
Yeah, and so I don't think you should give up anything regardless of your gender. You just gotta keep going and move forward with that. Happy Women's History Month to everyone. And again, this is from our experience. If you have a different experience, we hope we can hear it someday on the show. With that, we'll see you guys next time.